triggers before hitting the streets. Authorities or crowds, and then especially post-COVID, and police would misread that, or somebody would catch it. It is just a critical thing, so it's like but it's up to everybody to communicate. But when I get to communicate, so it's easily the house. It's if you already agree.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Appreciate it.
Next 2 weeks or whatever, then you need to look at what that looks like. If you're no reaction, yes. If you want to put any of the books that you have out here so you get the books. We can. That's so that you can kind of like show them things that you do. Yes, get the mindfulness. Because I think mindfulness is so good. And I was thinking, get it all out before you go out there.
Okay.
It's like, get it out. I'm talking about art for therapy. Come on. I these words.
All right, you guys ready?
Okay. Are y'all ready? Yes.
Okay. And 3, 2, and we're gonna go live here. Let's see. Okay, we are live.
Awesome. Hey, thank you for joining us here today at PNCA, Pacific Northwest College of Art at London University. Here with Jesse Merrifield and Dr. Mayfield. And we're just thankful that everybody's able to come together to learn about how to move with purpose. Obviously, in 2020, we had elections and we had a lot of protests and we had a lot of people that were affected in different ways. And we are thinking that with this election that's coming up and with the inauguration in January, that there's probably going to be a lot of conversations that need to be had, a lot of feelings that people are going to have, and we wanted to make sure that we were contributing resources and information that will support families and communities that are willing to speak up and show up for the social change that we're all seeking. Obviously, Jesse Merrifield is an attorney here in Portland. He's a civil rights attorney. He has represented Ocean Portland in our lawsuits before successfully. And I think that there's no one better to talk about what your rights are as a protester or as a community organizer. We want people to be informed so that they can build their community for the resistance. Also with Dr. Mayfield, doctor that has licensed therapists that are providing mutual support for people that are affected emotionally or dealing with trauma or any kind of stress around the elections, racism, overtly gender, bias and different things that are happening because of where we are right now in the world. I think that the resources and the information that she is willing to provide to our community is also essential. And so this is an introduction to their practice and them as a resource. So hopefully this presentation will help you find ways to get in contact with them if you need this type of support. Again, thank you and stay in the streets. Who am I supposed to person? Sorry. So I'm Dr. Mayfield, and what I specialize is helping individuals address unresolved issues that may have occurred in their life, sometimes in their past or currently. And so how that fits into play when it comes to protesting and marching for your rights or standing up for your community is that we want to address those unresolved issues before going out. One of the things I found with a lot of individuals who come in for therapy that had just done a protest or just finished marching and yelling, they're drained, they're emotionally upset, they disconnect from their responsibilities and they feel empty because here we are, we did all of that, but the problem is still there. And they're lost, and they're like, what can we do? There's nothing they can do, and so they feel guilty from that. And on top of that, they're disconnected from their responsibilities, so there's no movement in their own lives. And so my job is to remind them that if they're fighting for this huge cause, it's going to require them to be prepared before they step out on the battlefield. Well, I wouldn't say the battlefield, but sometimes, yeah, it is. But before they step out for this cause, and they're standing up not just for my grandchildren or not for my children, but for generations, we need to have our ducks in order. We need to have our emotions in check. We need to process our trauma. We need to address those unresolved issues. And the best way I can explain it is addressing the unjust within our household before we go and fight the unjust in society. And that can only be done if we have the proper measures and we communicate with our families and we go to therapy and kind of bridge some of those gaps in our emotions and in our trauma. And so I think this would prepare them to not be so reactive, but logical and strategic when they're protesting. And when they're done, they can come back and decompress in a better, healthy way and have room for themselves to figure out what the next game plan is. Because protesting and marching for our rights and standing up for a cause, that is a big business, and that's what we tend to forget. And so we do have to come back and do the work when we come back. We have to be able to continue on. The protest never really stops. It just continues on through our work and being able to provide for the cause that we're fighting for. So that's one of the things that I come in at, and to be able to help initiate that. Teresa was bringing up the fact of what can they do when they come back? How can the family support them? Well, there's certain things that, and we provide this, but there are certain things that they can do and get. These things are mindful patterns. They help with anxieties, they help manage your emotions, and it kind of brings you back down to earth. It grounds you to where you can kind of decompress from any emotion that you may have conjured up in the heart of the protest. And there's even for children, if there's children in the household, they pick up on that energy too. So you want to have them to participate as well, so they're not picking up on your energy when you're coming back and you're all, amped up, or you're not in a good headspace to communicate with them. So they can join you in decompressing. And prior to going to protest, if you got anger or if there's some things that you're afraid that's going to come out, you can get something like this and turn that into beautiful art. So that way it is not so upfront when you're in the protest or you're marching or you're speaking for a particular group that you're protesting for. So these are all tools that can be used, but the number one tool is communicating with your family, identifying your purpose, and going to the right people to prepare to communicate that purpose.
Yeah, I'll pick up on that same theme. Part of having that plan is having to understand, at what point you're going to start getting close to a line where you're likely to be engaging with the police in a negative way. So having that plan includes knowing when to step back. If you've got that accountability partner, you agree that this is as far as you're going tonight, making sure that you follow through with that. You know, protesting, I think protesting is sort of like going to a casino, right? So you have a plan, you know how much risk you're willing to put on the table that night, you don't go any further because you're gonna get swept up. The emotion's high, you got people around you that are gonna work you up, and you gotta stick to your plan, because if you don't have the plan for what happens next, you're gonna find yourself in a lot of trouble and a lot more stress than you thought. That said, if part of your plan includes, engaging in acts of civil disobedience that are likely to lead to arrest, plan for that. The people in your life need to know you might not be coming home on time that night, where you might be. You need to have the jail support number in Sharpie on your arm so you can call it when you get picked up and you're in the jail and get out in as timely a fashion as you can do. And if that's not your plan that night, then when the megaphone comes out from the police and you say, get out of the street, you're subject to arrest, that's what you gotta do. But if you're gonna continue the protest, that's part of the plan. Make sure that you're ready to get arrested, and make sure that you're meeting with a calm mind, that the police who are jacked up and emotional don't cause you to get jacked up and emotional. You can meet their violence with calm and peacefulness. How they're going to react is not predictable to you, and you can't control it. So don't try and control it, right? If that's where you're going with your protest that night, then be prepared for the consequences of it, and also be prepared to document what happens. So I expect that the kind of protests coming out of the election, that most police bureau members will have body cameras, so there'll be that documentation coming on what they see. Be aware of that. Make sure that your phone is charged, so you can video what needs to be video, whether it's yourself or your friends. And make sure that you're documenting the aftermath. So what I see in my practice when people get injured and they're dealing with the trauma of being injured by the police, they often don't come to a lawyer until 6 months, 8 months, a year down the line. And by that time, all they're doing is they didn't want to process in the moment what had happened to them. So that giant bruise that they got on their leg is just their description. I don't have a photograph of it. That head injury that probably should have been addressed at the hospital because it was likely a concussion. They just ignored it because they didn't want to have to deal with it. Make sure that if you are injured in the course of a protest, that you are documenting both with the appropriate medical care that you need at that moment and with photographs so that you can later demonstrate what happened to you. Some real important deadlines to be aware of. If you're going to sue a government agent, you need to send them a notice within 6 months, 180 days. So that's the timeline you guys are jump on this stuff in order to preserve your right to sue them. And then the lawsuit has to be filed within 2 years. So this stuff happens quickly. And I think that if you take regular advice and you're protesting with a purpose, and you're doing everything in that protest is intentional, and that's what you choose to do, then you'll be a lot better prepared to get justice for yourself on the back end as well if you are injured by the police and do not follow the law.
I agree with that. I think we all find ourselves in situations to where we are feeling like we're not heard. That could be in the workplace. Everybody has been to a job where they don't feel like they're not heard. Everybody has felt a boss that moved over them or discredited them at some stage of their career. But at the same time, we remain grounded because our purpose is getting mission. Our purpose is going to the field. So it's the same concept when we go out to protest, because our purpose is to get the message across. Our purpose is to let people know that we care. Our purpose is to let people know that we're heard. So that's what we have to remember in that moment. So, with that being said, that's something we need to practice before we go out there. really being grounded in our purpose, really taking our responsibility on our purpose, and making sure our purpose is healthy and our families understand our purpose. So, yeah.
Questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
How would you maybe suggest there's the protections or the law, the rights, the lines that are supposed to exist when we're interacting with the police?
Yeah.
But after, not just 2020, but well before that, there's been a lot of right-wing folks who show up and antagonize and are really dangerous at these moments too. And I'm wondering if you have any advice for people about like how to recognize them, if you haven't been out, or like what kind of rights you have in terms of protecting yourself, because we've seen people exposed to tremendous violence.
Yeah, so the question is, I was talking about how to plan for violent confrontations with the police, and the question is, what about right-wing protesters who are bringing violence into the protests as well? How do you recognize that, and how do you deal with that? And what are your rights with respect to dealing with those folks? Looking for insignia is always a good cue in terms of identifying right-wing elements within the protests. Lots of those things are neo-Nazi or white supremacist type of insignia. I would hesitate to start talking about your right to self-defense when you're dealing with somebody who is there to perpetrate violence, right? When those folks show up to a Black Lives Matter protest, they're not there to protest.
So you already know what they're there for.
They're there to use violence against you, and they're not going to follow rules doing that. And so, if you don't, I'm struggling how to say this, but it's dangerous to engage with them. And you could be hurt or, as we have seen, killed if you do engage with them.
I think another question is, how do you create space in it? You already know it's there, so it's like, I don't want to touch the stove, but I want to cook. So is there another avenue that you can take and still get your voice heard and still feel safe? You have to protect your space and not let those perpetrators invade it. So you look and see, how can I put myself in a safe space so that they're not getting violated? And if they're infiltrating, that means we need to be removed. Because at that point, our purpose will be drowned out and killed by them. And your whole job is to protect.
Yeah, to the extent that, we talked a little bit about that police don't always follow rules they're required to follow. But there's a degree of predictability in dealing with police. I don't think there's that predictability with dealing
With people.
with people.
Yeah.
When we do nonviolent direct action training, we try to utilize the information that you're sharing with us now and the groups that we organize with. So we would want people that are doing this now, that if they are going to organize, take notes on these tips and utilize them in your organizing strategies, so that the people that you're bringing together to, protest, whether it's to a mutual aid in your own community, or whether you're showing up at a protest, that you have some type of tools to keep people organized and to help them move the purpose forward as well.
I'm glad you said that, because that just made me think, what would the walkway plan look like? A lot of people that get out there, they're so amped up on the cause that we don't think about what the walkway plan looks like. And like you said, when you see those neo-Nazis and white supremacists come, is that part of our walkway plan? And we go straight to that. If not, what's our next step? Now we're seeing our purposes being furthered. What's the next step? So that's something I just thought of, like, what can be the walkway plan? And it's part of the organization.
Correct, exactly. I mean, we know in Portland that this is a likely result, right? You have a protest, and it is likely now that these right-wing counter protesters are going to show up. So what does that mean for organizations? How to plan. How are we going to deal with it? We know these people are going to show up. We know they're dangerous. How are we going to deal with it? Keep ourselves safe and still get our message across.
We can survive another day to continue our purpose.
Any other questions? Any other thoughts that we should share?
I would say just remember, when you speak of the white supremacists, you gotta understand their purpose is to distract us. What are they distracting us with? The viewer, violence. And that's what we have to remember. So when we come, when we see them, that's why the walkway plan or what's our next step if we see them, because we have to protect our purpose. Because we know violence, somebody's gonna walk away from it.
I was gonna say, and we know that with this election, that there is a heightened sense of awareness that racism does play a major factor, because you literally have a nationalist running against a Black American. And the capacity for violence within that whole situation, regardless of outcome, is pretty large from what we're hearing. And so even putting this together with the legal side and the medical side in our view as organizers, we have to take care of ourselves, because we're not the problem right now. The problem is that these things are happening in our world and we can't just ignore them. So what would we, how would we, because of misogyny and misogynoir and all of this different racialized violence, what are some things that we can do to kind of decompress at home, and how do we seek support for things that we can't just mediate or meditate away?
Finding a therapist that can address some of those issues that's qualified. Some of the tools that I mentioned earlier, whether it's the coloring books, to kind of help decompress and stabilize yourself, and talking amongst your peers as well. There are a lot, I won't say there's a lot, but we are open to doing groups. You know, talking to people with like minds and feeling encouraged by our own peers, and setting ourselves up to go back into the world so the aftermath is productive for us instead of traumatic.
So people can contact you and.
Oh, yeah, people can contact me I don't know my own phone number sometimes, but the number I do know, people can contact me at 469-343-4081 or info@ Center of Cultivating Parents, .org.
And then just see, if we have questions about protesting and knowing our rights, or if someone has protested and needs support, how do they contact you as well? And what are some other levels of contact? Because I know in 2020, y'all were quite busy.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think we ended up doing over 6,000 requests for support, and that's a lot to come to small groups. But what are ways that people can find support, legal support, and if they have questions about their rights?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the civil rights bar, the number of plaintiffs, lawyers, who do this type of work in Oregon is very small. And so in times of social upheaval like 2020, we get very, very busy. And but you can always try to contact us. My office, living here, of course, is 971-229-1241. The other good resource other than contacting Fellowship directly is to contact the Oregon Justice Resource Center. I don't know their phone number off the top of my head, but they have a civil rights project, and they're also a great resource whether they can handle themselves or try and direct you to a more appropriate resource.
To follow back on me. This is a flyer that we have. It's Protest with Purpose, and it's part of a program in our organization to help you put together that action plan and preparations before you go to protest and afterwards. And it has some of the things we have, how to schedule, meeting with a therapist. We even have book clubs, so there's some civil rights books. And those things can help too. You can join amongst your peers to help you decompress. So it's all here on the flyer. Oh, here's that number, 503-308-8287. You can contact us here. We'll have some of these flyers that PDX don't shoot. And here are the major insurance companies we accept. We accept Medicaid, Medicare, Providence Health, Moda, United Health, Cigna, and also Aetna. Thank you guys.
And y'all, you have telehealth, right?
Oh, we offer telehealth, yes, we do good telehealth, and then we also have in-person groups that started this spring. Located at PDX, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right, so, anything else y'all want to share with the audience before we get out? All right, so, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for being here. Thank the kids for doing the art. If you need any support with nonviolent direct action organizing strategies, or if you need critical support, please contact motionpdx.org. We will put you in contact with the direct resources that you need. With our critical support, that means, transportation, advocacy, legal referrals, we do food distributions, and we just want you to be taken care of in our community. So contact us if you're interested in volunteering. Hopefully we'll see y'all at the Reclaiming OK March. This will be our 10th year. We're celebrating Ocean Portland's 2014 and 2024 existence in our community. And just like these signs say, mutual aid is social change. Critical support is what solidarity looks like. And if you are not outraged, you are not paying attention. Thank you. Oh, you're
Really good tagline. You got all that out.